So in this video I've come to RSPB Lakenheath Fen, and the main quarry that I got here is try to photograph kingfisher. I've come to the mere hide, and there have been posts on social media lately as the kingfisher have been showing quite well here, and the hide is a nice hide. There's good openings here for you to photograph out of. They actually do have some posts and branches set up sort of for the kingfisher to land on and fish from. So I got here around about 7 o'clock this morning. Already when I got in here there were 5 other people in the hide, and they told me that the kingfisher had been about that morning, but it's certainly gone very quiet now. I haven't seen any sightings of it for at least an hour and a half. But with this sort of photography, it's just a case of putting the time in and waiting and seeing if you know, the bird does turn up there. Might be lucky, might be not. 2 years ago I came here to the same hide and photographed kingfisher here, and on that occasion I had to wait 2.5–3 hours before the actual kingfisher showed up, and when it did, it stayed for about 5 or 10 minutes, so it enabled me to get some nice shots, although at that occasion it was quite a distance away, but it was in a very natural looking background. But really it's just a case of putting the time in, and with this sort of photography it's just wait and see. You never know, you might be lucky, you might not. So the camera I've got here is the OM1mkII, which is what I normally use. I've got the 150–400, and I've also got the 1.25 extender which I can put on, but if it lands on this perch here I certainly ain't going to need the extender, because it's going to give me a real frame filling shot with the 400mm without the extender. I did get some nice shots of a dragonfly that was hovering in front of the hide a little while ago. Haven't really checked closely to identify it. I think it might have been a migrant hawker, but I don't really know until I get back and check. It's quite windy today and quite cool. The last few days have been quite hot, and it's a little bit cooler today. Be interesting to see if the kingfisher turns up. If it does, what I will do is, as soon as I've got 1 or 2 shots of it as the stills, I'll actually try and video it and see how that goes. But fingers crossed, it's just a case of waiting and seeing. So in this hide, it's not a hide that you can really use a tripod. There's a big platform here. So what I've actually done here is I've actually used a beanbag and my coat just to lift it up there. Beanbags are very useful in hides like this, because you know, where you can't actually get a tripod in comfortably, you can sort of rest it, and it does give you a very, very solid support. I mean, even video I can shoot quite happily on a beanbag without getting any problems with camera shake. So here I'm going to show a few stills and video clips taken during the session. I stayed in the hide for about 6 hours, so that gave me plenty of opportunities for photography. A good time to photograph kingfishers at Lakenheath is in August, because by then the juveniles will be fully grown and are catching fish for themselves. The RSPB warden told me that there were 4 different birds regularly visiting the area in front of the hide. The mere hide is great for portrait shots, shots where the kingfisher has caught fish, and also for shots as they are starting to dive. The classic shot where you often see a kingfisher emerging from the water with a fish in its beak are often, but not always, taken at paid-for commercial hides, and there are many of these set up around the UK. At these setups, the kingfishers are diving into a restricted area, so it's a lot easier to judge where it's going to be hitting the water and where it will be emerging from. At Lakenheath, the kingfisher can be diving anywhere, so here you cannot pre-focus on an area of water where you know it will dive to. Also, you never know which side of the branch it will dive from, so you will end up with shots where it dives away from you, or as in this case, behind the branch. Occasionally it will dive in the right direction, and then, using Pro Capture, you stand a good chance of getting a decent shot. You can see in this shot that the Kingfisher is getting ready to dive. Pro Cap makes obtaining a good sequence of shots as it dives easy. This is not down to my skill, but more down to the technology that is in the camera. The branch that is set up for the Kingfisher to dive from is, in my opinion, a bit thick and chunky. I think they would have looked a lot nicer with a thinner, more attractive branch. On speaking to Mike Lane about this, he said that a thinner branch is nicer for portraits, but if the branch is too thin, the Kingfisher cannot bang the head against the branch to kill it. This was something I'd not even considered. So a few minutes ago the Kingfisher came and put on a really good performance. I had about an hour and a half before it showed up, and then for the last half an hour, 40 minutes it's been back and forth, back and forth. And a few minutes ago I managed to get some really nice footage of it where it caught a fairly large minnow, and it landed up on the branch, and you can see in the footage, because I shot it at slow motion, you can see in the footage where it keeps banging the head of the fish against the branch to kill it, and then it does swallow it head first. So that's quite a large fish that it's had, so I would think it's going to be a good half an hour or hour before it comes back for some little while. But it's been a fairly productive morning. I've been trying to get a shot of the setup with the actual Kingfisher diving, but they're diving all over the place. They're not diving to one particular area that I can focus on, so that's been quite difficult. But certainly this morning the soft light has actually been ideal for video because there's no contrast and it's worked really, really well. There's actually, although the main stick that I'm photographing is out there, there is a smaller stick right in front of the hide, and literally it's only about, I would say, 10 foot, 11 foot away from us, and it came and sat there for some while, really just, you know, I wouldn't have thought the actual perch is high enough for them to actually fish from, but it sat there and took no notice of me sort of photographing it. Certainly Lakenheath at this time of the year is a good area to come for kingfishers, and it is a public hide. It's not one of these paid for set up hides or anything, so you get lots of bird watchers come here to watch the kingfishers, but also it gives you a good opportunity to photograph them as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching.